and that was that. I hung up feeling my jaw tighten. That cheap rent suddenly didn't feel like a favor. It felt like a trap. From then on, the Callahan kids doubled down. Every week, it was something new. Tyler would park his truck halfway across my driveway, blocking me in. Chloe would let her cat roam around my garden, knocking over potted plants. They even threw a birthday party one night and used my backyard fence as a photo backdrop, leaving glitter and balloons everywhere. The breaking point came 2 months later. I had just finished rearranging my living room, proud of how I'd set up my shelves with all my books. Rare novels, old history volumes, some first editions I'd collected over the years. That night, I went out for dinner with friends. When I came back, my front door was slightly ajar. My stomach dropped. I pushed it open and stepped inside. The air smelled faintly of cheap alcohol and cologne. My living room was trashed. Cushions on the floor, a window cracked, muddy footprints everywhere. But what froze me were the bookshelves, knocked over, books torn and scattered. And there, on my rug, in thick black marker, someone had written, "Shouldn't have snitched, nerd." When I first moved into that beige 2-story house on Oak Ridge Lane, I thought I'd finally found peace. It wasn't fancy, but it had a backyard, a pool, and a quiet street where I could write in the evenings. I didn't care much about the landlord being old-fashioned. His name was Mr. Callahan, a retired army man with a voice like gravel and a handshake that felt like a dare. He made one thing clear when I signed the lease. "Now, Milton, I don't like trouble. I keep my property clean and I expect tenants who do the same. You keep your noise down, pay your rent on time, and we won't have problems." I smiled politely. "You won't have any issues from me, sir. I just need some quiet to work." He squinted like he didn't believe me, but gave a tight nod. What he didn't say, at least not then, was that his 2 adult children practically lived in the house next door and had a habit of treating everything on the property like their personal playground. Their names were Tyler and Chloe Callahan. Tyler was 22, built like a gym ad, with a trust fund swagger and a beer permanently glued to his hand. Chloe was 19, bleached hair, thick makeup, and a voice that could slice through glass. Together, they were a tornado in designer sneakers. The first week wasn't bad, but by the second, I started to notice little things. Cigarette butts in my driveway, beer bottles left on my lawn, the sound of music, loud, thumping bass from their backyard at 2 a.m. One morning, I woke up to find a frisbee floating in my pool and muddy footprints on the deck. I sighed, fished it out, and tried to ignore it. But when I came back from work that evening, the gate to my yard was wide open, and there were towels, cups, and an inflatable flamingo floating in the pool. I froze. "You've got to be kidding me." I walked closer and saw them, Tyler and Chloe, laughing with a bunch of their friends, music blasting, cans of soda and beer everywhere. They were using my pool, on my property. "Excuse me? What are you doing in my yard?" Tyler looked over his shoulder, sunglasses on, smirking. "Relax, man. We're just cooling off. You weren't home anyway." "That's the point. This is private property." Chloe rolled her eyes, sitting on the pool's edge with a margarita.
God, you sound like my dad.
I stormed inside, grabbed my phone, and called Mr. Callahan. "Sir, your kids are trespassing. They threw a party in my pool while I was gone." He paused, then gave a dry chuckle. They're just having fun, Milton. Don't be so uptight. Besides, I rented you that place for a good deal." I gripped the phone tighter. "With respect, sir, I'm paying rent for privacy, not to babysit your grown kids." He sighed. "They're family, son. Lighten up." And that was that. I hung up feeling my jaw tighten. That cheap rent suddenly didn't feel like a favor. It felt like a trap. From then on, the Callahan kids doubled down. Every week, it was something new. Tyler would park his truck halfway across my driveway, blocking me in. Chloe would let her cat roam around my garden, knocking over potted plants. They even threw a birthday party one night and used my backyard fence as a photo backdrop, leaving glitter and balloons everywhere. The breaking point came 2 months later. I had just finished rearranging my living room, proud of how I'd set up my shelves with all my books. Rare novels, old history volumes, some first editions I'd collected over the years. That night, I went out for dinner with friends. When I came back, my front door was slightly ajar. My stomach dropped. I pushed it open and stepped inside. The air smelled faintly of cheap alcohol and cologne. My living room was trashed. Cushions on the floor, a window cracked, muddy footprints everywhere. But what froze me were the bookshelves, knocked over, books torn and scattered. And there, on my rug, in thick black marker, someone had written, "Shouldn't have snitched, nerd." My hands shook with anger. I knew exactly who did it. The police came, but there was little they could do without proof. Mr. Callahan, when I confronted him the next morning, just shrugged. "You can't prove my kids did anything. Maybe you left your door unlocked. You people always play the victim." He actually said that. You people. I walked away before I lost my temper, but inside, I was done. That was my last straw. For weeks, I barely spoke to them. I just observed, watched their habits. I knew they loved partying, showing off on social media, and sneaking into places they shouldn't. That's when an idea began to form. Not just revenge, but a lesson. It started small. The first night, I waited until Tyler had one of his boys' nights in the backyard. Around midnight, when they were laughing loud enough to wake the dead, I connected my Bluetooth speaker to their outdoor sound system. When the music cut out, they all froze. Then I played an eerie, low whisper through the speakers. "You shouldn't have entered his house, Tyler. He's watching." There was silence, then nervous laughter. "What the hell is that? Chloe, you playing a prank? Dude, that's creepy. Turn it off." I turned it off after a minute, just long enough for them to look over their shoulders all night. One weekend, I had a feeling they were going to throw another party in my pool. Sure enough, they tried. What they didn't know was that I had put a harmless chemical in the water. It would turn anyone who swam in it bright blue for a while. It didn't hurt anyone, but it was embarrassing and impossible to ignore. On Saturday, when I wasn't home, Tyler and his friends jumped in. Within minutes, their hands, arms, legs, and hair were blue. "What the? Why are we blue?"
This isn't funny. Help!
The neighbors called the police. They came, took statements, and arrested all of them for trespassing. Each of them spent 3 days in jail. I didn't feel bad. They had ignored my property and made a mess of my house for years. When they got out of jail, it didn't take long for them to try revenge. One rainy night, they burst my tires. Most people would have been angry, but I just smiled. It didn't matter. 2 days later, I did something dramatic in return. I took Tyler and Chloe's cars and hid them in a forest far from the city. I didn't steal them permanently, just made sure they couldn't be used for a while. The panic on their faces when they realized their cars were gone was priceless. A few days later, I turned my attention to Tyler's and Chloe's section of the house. I broke in quietly, not to steal anything, just to teach them responsibility, and left all the taps running in Tyler's kitchen and bathroom. When Tyler got home with a girl, he found his entire section of the house soaked. "Who did this?" "Milton." He spent the whole night cleaning, mopping floors, collecting buckets, and apologizing to the water gods for all I had made him suffer. Meanwhile, I quietly borrowed Chloe's expensive handbags and hid them on the ceiling of her closet. She loved those bags for social media, and it took her a whole week to figure out where they had gone. Of course, she suspected me, but she had no proof. All of these incidents, the blue pool, jail, tires, hidden cars, soaked house, and handbags on the ceiling, shocked them. Slowly, Tyler and Chloe realized their behavior had consequences. They began to change. Tyler started helping around the house and thinking before acting. Chloe stopped showing off for social media and started caring about others instead of herself. For the first time since I moved in, I slept peacefully. Tyler even came over one day, awkward and serious. "Hey Milton, we've been jerks, I'm sorry, we'll stop messing with your stuff." Appreciate that. House feels better when it's peaceful. A few days later, Chloe brought cookies as her own apology. From that point on, they changed. Tyler helped with repairs, Chloe started waving when she saw me, and sometimes they even sat by my pool to talk. They admitted they'd been spoiled and arrogant. One night, Tyler asked if I was the one behind all the spooky tricks. I just smirked. Even their dad noticed the change, surprised at how polite the kids had become. By summer, Tyler and Chloe were almost like friends. They invited me to barbecues, helped with chores, and asked for advice. Tyler enrolled in community college. Chloe got a part-time job. The pranks, arrogance, and noise were gone. Sometimes I'd tease them lightly, like flickering the pool light red, and they'd groan. But we laughed together. Their dad even apologized to me, admitting renting to me had been a blessing because I had helped the kids grow. The house was calm now, the kids responsible, and I'd proven that revenge didn't need to be cruel, just clever. And if you enjoyed hearing how I scared two spoiled kids straight, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what happened when they tried to prank me back next year.